Welcome to Viva la Vulva, the podcast that explores and teaches about the goodness of the vulva. Here is your host, Dr. Cara Quant, an internal medicine doctor and advocate for female sexual health.
So, what are the truths about probiotic suppositories? What's essentially the evidence? Well, the theoretical rationale is that re-inoculate lactobacillus directly into the site of dysbiosis, which is a compelling logic, right? And there are specific strains that can help enormously with maintaining this microbiome pH normality to the vagina. And that is Lactobacilli crispatus or lactin B. So there has been some compelling trial data, most recently in 2020, talking about lactin B coming from Lactobacillus crispatus, which is a normal or natural occurring strain within the vagina, using this type of probiotic to put inside the vagina to help with maintaining the goodness of it. And so this research essentially showed that there was about a 30% recurrence of BV after using it. It wasn't 100%, it wasn't 0%. And there was some side effects like any medicine that you use. And so the trials are still ongoing, but it's kind of reassuring. Again, 30% reduction in BV recurrence, essentially versus placebo post metronidazole. So essentially what they did in the trial was they treated a woman who had BV with metronidazole within the vagina, so the cream, and then after that gave lactin V for a certain amount of time and tested to see where she was. And so essentially what they found was that there was a 30% reduction in BV recurrence versus placebo. So what about what we have now in 2026? There's so many over-the-counter probiotic suppositories that are out there, right? But they can fall short. And so how they can fall short is, one, the supplement industry is not regulated. It's not regulated by the FDA or the Food and Drug Administration. And so with that, it's hard to say what exactly these suppositories are doing. So it can fall short in strain viability issues. So how viable are the strains that are put into the vagina? Do they just die as soon as they are put into the vagina? Are they maintained for a certain amount of time? Is there any colonization proof? So can you even prove that these certain colonies of lactobacilli are actually in the product that you're buying? And so there's a regulatory gap. Like I said, the FDA is not regulating these supplements. So it's hard to say whether they are just, giving you information just to sell you something, or if these are actually things that can help with maintaining the vaginal pH and bringing some harmony to this dysbiosis that's happening. We don't really know any of that information yet. We don't know what the optimal dosing duration is, how women will respond best to the medicines, and how to assess success in somebody after using these probiotic suppositories. So current clinical guidance, there's not really any standard of care of, what probiotics are really going to help and what are not. I do go to this conference every year called the ISHWISH conference, or the International Society of the Study of Women's Sexual Health. And, they promote certain probiotics that can help, whether it is within the vagina or oral. So I would say the jury is still out about like what is the appropriate probiotic to use. I would say overall, generally these medicines, are not going to harm you. So maybe trying some different ones out and seeing what works and what doesn't would be my essential recommendation. So what is actually the science? What is evidence-based management for these infections? So bacterial vaginosis. What is first line? It's basically metronidazole or clindamycin. Oral or the topical, the vaginal medicines will do just fine. We know from backed data that there is good efficacy. We know about the side effect profiles. We know how to counsel patients about BV and the medicines that can treat BV. Generally, for recurrent episodes of BV, generally the recommendation is using the metronidazole gel. And sometimes actually it's been given for a long amount of time, as well as adding on boric acid and the new emerging medicine, which is that lactin V that I was talking about, or the lactobacilli crispidus. So this is an emerging combination. There are also lifestyle things that can affect you and can be changed are condom use, can reduce recurrence, new sexual partners, essentially limiting sexual partners, because adding new partners can affect and increase the dysbiosis risk, or the risk of your vagina not being in harmony. And I think I have, or at least on my Instagram page, did talk about some research showing that women who have recurrent episodes of BV, if they are in a heterosexual relationship, the male can be treated for BV, and sometimes that can be the issue. So it can be passed on, even though a male is not going to have the typical symptoms of BV, but can be kind of a colonizer. He can hold on to the infection and pass it on, even though the female partner has already been successfully treated. So condoms can help with reducing that risk of a lot of things like STIs, but also including BV, passing it on. So definitely condoms are not lost and are still good, despite me hearing a lot of people not wanting to use them. And then things like hormonal context have a big implication. Estrogen actually supports lactobacillus production. And so things like menopausal state or postpartum, hormonal IUDs, they can all shift the microbiome and can affect somebody and the risk of getting an infection or not. And when to go, and another thing that is also evidence-based is when to get further workup. So, anytime you're having unprotected sex with a partner, you do always want to have STI testing. It's always helpful to do it before you have sex with a partner, and you have your partner also be tested as well. And you see each other's results before having unprotected sex. In a perfect world, that would happen, but we are not in a perfect world. Things like aerobic vaginitis, which, like I said earlier, is an underdiagnosed diagnosis. And so if you're having these like recurrent episodes, it might be that you need to see an OBGYN or someone that can look more closely to see if there's another infection that's going on that's not actually BV. You could have something called contact dermatitis. And so contact dermatitis is basically a diagnosis of inflammation. You have an allergic reaction to something. So it is best to look into what are the products that you're using in and around the area. Are you having itching because you just used a new body wash or a new lubricant or a new something. So it's always helpful to look for that, because contact dermatitis can cause you to have recurrent infections that can look like a recurrent yeast infection. So, like I continue saying, it really is helpful to get the evidence of a swab to test for the things like BV and yeast and trichomonas and gonorrhea and chlamydia. So you really can see, like, hey, do I have this infection, or could it be something else completely? So for those girlies who are having these like recurrent episodes, it really is helpful to go to your doctor to have further testing. And even if it is that you're coming in with recurring symptoms, again, a swab really can help a lot to decide your care. And then also, how to talk to your doctor. There's specific questions you can ask, like, hey, I would, instead of just like treating you for presumed symptoms, like actually getting swabbed, doing a culture, which can help to guide management. And I see on a regular basis vaginitis, and oftentimes women will come in and say, oh, I already know what I have, I just want the medicine. And often what I say to that is, I understand that you think that you know what you have, but again, it's always helpful to get that evidence beforehand, because there's many people who have come in saying, I've had a UTI, urine looks good, urine culture looks normal, and they've been given a round of antibiotics. So antibiotics are not the end all be all, like a lot of people think. There are side effects to antibiotics, and it also can affect your gut microbiome. It can affect the good bacteria in your gut, and you can have these recurrent episodes of a lot of things when you take a lot of antibiotics. So just be aware that antibiotics are not the end all be all, and it really is helpful to do a culture or a swab in order to get that information and come up with a diagnosis.
Thanks for joining me today on the Viva La Vulva podcast. I am your host and internal medicine physician, Dr. Cara Quant. If you like this podcast, please let others know and subscribe. Also, if you want to hear more information about what's happening with Viva La Vulva, hop over to our website at vivalavulvala.org and sign up for our newsletter.